How do you decide? We had to send home employees, hourly employees, professional staff, managers, and senior managers. And this was one of the most difficult decisions of how do we do this? And I know some of you are sitting in that seat today wondering, how do I decide? How do I decide who to send home? And so I want to give you a few tips or a few things that I want you to think about when you're making that decision or helping you make that decision. First of all, you have to have a process. You cannot do this without a process. It should start from your strategic plan. And probably the strategic plan that you had before 3 weeks ago is probably no longer going to be valid. You're probably going to have to make some major changes to it. So look at your strategic plan, quickly look at where you think you're going to keep going in that same direction, and think about where you're going to have to make some adjustments to that plan for what the foreseeable future is going to look like. We don't know, but we know for sure that what that plan looked like couple of months ago probably is going to have to make some adjustments to it. So when you understand clearly where you're going, then you can start making those decisions. And some of those decisions, I would say, first of all, when you have a process, have it a very objective process. I'm going to give you a few things that you can put in that process to make sure it's objective. Also, make sure that it's documented. Have your process clearly documented. And so this one, make sure that every one of your supervisors, managers, team leaders, whatever, who's using that process clearly knows what they're doing to make that reduction. One of the things you want to look at in that process could be performance. Over the years, you've been doing performance appraisals. These are one of the areas that you can look at to decide who stays and who goes. You can look at performance. This is a good time, this may be a time when you have to now say goodbye to your low performance. Another thing that you want to look at is seniority. And so when we had our professional employees, we looked at performance. Our lower performers in areas where we already knew that we could had some wiggle room for staffing is where we started to start eliminating employees. Then when we had employees who were pretty much all doing the exact same job and performance was not such a critical factor to their job, not that performance was not, but it was not the number one factor, we looked at seniority. Seniority is a great way to look at it when you're dealing with hourly employees, when you look to decide who should stay and who should go. And then you might want to look at projects. What critical projects are you working on now and in the future that you're going to be having? And therefore, you need a certain set of critical skills that needs to remain in the organization. That is something that you definitely want to be critical of. And that's why I'm asking you to look at your strategic plan. The other thing you want to consider is you got to look at your protective class. When you started to, after you've made your decision on who you're looking at, put it in a spreadsheet and start looking at those names and start looking at race, gender, age. You want to look at who's in the protective class. Are you letting go? Is there an imbalance between people who are in the protected class who are getting ready to walk out that door? You want to look at that because you don't want to find yourself later on trying to defend why you let this large group of people in protected classes go. So that's something you want to be clear on. And then you want to ask yourself, after I say goodbye to these people, what is the morale in this office going to be like? How am I going to manage that? And who do I need to leave behind who's going to be able to keep this going, to keep the morale going? And what am I going to do to make sure that the employees who are left behind are engaged, are productive, and know that they have a future in this company? So these are some things that you should consider so your organization can continue to thrive. I wish you the best during this difficult time. It can be done. It can be done well. Just make sure it's thought out and have a clear plan that's documented on how you plan to execute your goodbyes.